Good evening. I'd like to call the Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 City Commission for the City of Pittsburgh meeting to order. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Pastor Tom from St. John's Lutheran to open us up with some words of inspiration.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of prayer. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, maker of all things. We give thanks to you for the gift of new life. As you have clothed your creation with the beauty of spring, clothe also now the elected leaders of our city with your spirit of wisdom, humility, courage, and peace, that they may promote the common good, hear the voices of all who reside in our community, and use their authority to serve faithfully. For to you belongs the glory and dominion, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you. I would now open it up for public input and invite anyone who would like to speak to come forward. Please state your name, address, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less.
Good evening. Brian Hanson, address 111 Crestwood Estates, Pittsburgh. I'm here on behalf of my business, McCarthy's Pub. I sent everybody an email with a letter. I'd just like to go ahead and read that real quick. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look over that. I'd just like to speak tonight to a number of issues as the owner of McCarthy's Pub and Grub. I've been in business in the community now for more than 20 years. I've outlasted many competitors, some of which you as commissioners or commissioners before you has even given funds to start competitive businesses towards me. I'm now very frustrated with the new ordinance that you all passed back in February. This ordinance you passed shows that this new spot, the Greenway, is going to allow all ages on the premise. When this was first passed, I was kind of under the impression that the spot would just be a handful of times throughout the months when the weather would be nice. Although, now as their advertising shows, they are interested in open 3 to 4 days a week from this point on until October. For me, that's just a normal bar at that point, just a 3-day bar. There are so many separate ordinances in this town dealing with serving alcohol and allowing of different ages. This has gotten out of control to keep making exceptions to allow new spots to be different than the past ordinances. The guise of using the term recreation has gotten out of control. I have all the things that these recreation/outdoor entertainment spots have to offer, yet I can get in trouble, lose my liquor license, get fined if somebody under the age of 21 is on my premise, whether they're drinking or not. Our county has no regulation to these types of matters at all. The city, although, has multiple ones on record. You have a food/liquor ratio to allow underage people. You have what's called a recreation center, which would be bowling alley, pool hall, axe throwing place, and then of course you have this new outdoor entertainment one. These are very direct on making alcohol sales easy for everyone, but businesses similar to mine, this is a direct competition matter. I'll use an example. If you are 21 and you have 2 friends that are 20, obviously they all want to go out together. My place is not an option for them. If they want to go now to the Greenway to listen to live music, that person that's 21 can buy alcohol. The other 2 can just hang out and be in the place. They can't do that at my place. So those are things that I'm concerned with. Pittsburgh PD, for the last 18 months or so, also had gone on very harsh expeditions searching for fake IDs. During that time, we endured multiple bar checks weekly. This also made it very uneasy for my customers to have a PD walking through my establishment. Sometimes it was multiple times a night. There was Friday and Saturday nights that they'd come in 3 different times. We then started seeing less customers as they felt like they didn't need to be at my establishment if the PD was always walking through. You guys hopefully can understand that. I would like to entertain, this is long-term, but I'd like to entertain the idea to reset the rules as it was years ago, allowing 18 plus in my type of establishment as it is pretty much in every other place with the exception of 2 or 3 places now in town. I firmly believe that these college-age youth are searching for more of a way to socialize rather than just using fake IDs. This is just the amount of fake IDs. I am the one bar in town that absolutely takes personal responsibility to take fake IDs when we see them. This is just the fall semester and the spring semester. There's roughly 300 of them in there. So obviously, the people that I employ do their job, and we make sure that underage kids aren't coming in, with fake IDs.
All right, thank you, Brian. If you-
Yep.
I think we talked about if you want to hang around.
Yeah, that'd be great. I do
All right.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Consent agenda, we're going to pull off item C and talk about separately. So the consent agenda will include A, B, D, and E. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ron, seconded by Cheryl. Roll call vote?
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Wenzel?
Yes.
Sigley?
Motion carries. Item C. Hi, Matt.
So on item C, recommendation to enter a contract with D2 Annex Engineering Solutions. The contract is attached to the agenda, however, there should be a supplemental agreement that will go, a supplemental addendum that modifies some insurance and mediation removal that will go with this contract. So really, we're just, same thing, authorize the mayor to resolve if you guys are okay with everything else, and we'll add the addendum before you execute the agreement. Is all we're asking for tonight.
Any questions for Matt?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Matt. All right, moving on. Public hearing, Progressive Products, taxable industrial revenue bonds. The city has given notice of a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 at 5:30 or as soon thereafter as may be heard in the courtroom of Pittsburgh Law Enforcement Center, 201 North Pine Street, Pittsburgh, Kansas 66762, in regard to the issuance by the issuer of its industrial revenue bonds, Progressive Products, in one or more series in a principal amount not to exceed $1,700,000, and in regard to an exemption from ad valorem taxation of property constructed or purchased with the proceeds of such bonds.
That's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Before the public hearing, I just wanted to give a little bit of background information for those that may be watching at home. This is a public hearing for an industrial revenue bond that would go to support a planned expansion at Apex Stages in the Airport Industrial Park. And in just a moment, Todd Allison will talk a little bit more about that project. Just always like to make sure that residents know this doesn't create any financial liability for the city. It's basically a common economic development tool that would provide a sales tax exemption on construction materials and then a 6-year tax abatement or a tax freeze, which would mean that Mr. Allison would essentially pay the same tax rate even though he's improving his property for a period of 6 years. So again, it doesn't create any financial liability for the city, but thanks to Tammy, the state does, well, Tammy's not responsible for the state's requirements, but the state requires that we do a number of public notices and post that in the paper. So thank you to Tammy for handling the public notice requirements. So before we do that public hearing, if you don't mind, Madam Mayor, I want to ask Todd Allison to come up and just tell you a little bit about his project and the benefit to the community. So you got an aerial there that shows the Apex facility. So Todd.
So we were seeking to expand our facility. As you see from the aerial, it's currently 31,500 square feet. We are seeking to double that manufacturing capability, and it will expand, couple on the mouse here, onto the right facing the runway. So we'll just double the building, although the expansion will be a little bit taller than the already existing facility so that we can put up our 50/40 mobile stages inside the building for quality control. We currently can't do that because it has a 30-foot eave, and it's just not quite tall enough. We miss it by like 6 inches.
Oh, no.
So, this project we expect to be approximately 1.6 million, not to exceed 1.7 million. We're already adding jobs for the expansion currently, and we are elbow to elbow. So we are looking forward to the expansion.
Great. Any questions for Todd? All right, thank you. Well, I will officially open the public hearing on the taxable industrial revenue bonds. If anyone would like to come forward and speak or ask any questions. All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. So do we vote on that, or do we go into A? A, all right. So, consider the following. Resolution 1294, consider approval of Resolution 1294 determining the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the construction of additions to a manufacturing facility located in the city and authorizing execution of related documents. So
Not
this,
much to say there. This is the resolution following the announcement.
Move to approve resolution number 1294, item A.
Second.
moved by Stu, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Building Improvement Project, Crux of Life LLC, 210 South Broadway. Consider the recommendation of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, EDAC, to reimburse Crux of Life LLC an amount equal to 10% of the expenses associated with the renovation of the property located at 210 South Broadway, with the city's allocation to be used to fund permanent, fixed improvements, electrical, plumbing, et cetera, not to exceed $32,000.
Okay, thank you again, Madam Mayor. And as you just stated, this is a recommendation from the EDAC regarding a building improvement project at 210 South Broadway. I just always like to make sure that our residents know, first of all, Dave Luby, who's the owner of the property, is going to talk a little bit about what kind of business is in there, and that's always interesting for the community to know what's coming next. The recommendation from the EDAC, as with all of these projects, is specific to the building. And that's why the extra language there, which is always in place, but we wanted to make sure to highlight it this time, that the improvements that, if you approve it tonight, the improvements that you would be investing in are permanent fixed assets. And for some reason, if this building owner were to change, or if the type of business were to change, that asset would then be there for the next owner. And so the community would continue to get that benefit. So that's the recommendation. But before we get to that, I want to ask Dave Luby, who's the owner of Crux of Life LLC, to talk to you a little bit about specifically the business. And while Dave does that, I will pull up a slide deck that he provided. All right, Dave, you're up.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, again, my name is Dave Luby, and I'm here to talk about Pittsburgh Cigar Company. And there actually was a Pittsburgh Cigar Company a long, long time ago. 133 years ago, I believe it was a manufacturer. My place will be more of a place to go, like a coffee shop. It's less about the sale of cigars, but it's for cigar aficionados. They come from all walks of life. And as the tourism director, I know that it's important to try to bring people to the area, and I think this is something that does that.
Right arrow.
And I'm just, right arrow, okay, oh, right there, thank you. Different on every keyboard. So when I took over the building, the last tenant had a vapor shop in there, Vapor Generation, and he had pegboard all over the walls. These walls are plaster over brick, and when he left, he took the pegboard down. Of course, when I tried to remove all these 2x2s, it left holes in the wall, things like that, so I needed to plug those holes, needed to seal the brick so the smoke is not getting pushed through to the neighbors, that kind of thing. There was some damaged electric, there was plumbing issues, and there's a bathroom in there and a small storage area in there. So that's kind of the initial things that needed it right away. Additional immediate needs, things that I'm improving within the space that will continue to stay with the space. Bring the building up to a more modern standard, but also keeping that historic charm. Fixing the brick and things that were in rough shape. Addition of a historic downtown sign, but the blade sign more at the street level to keep it charming that way. I guess that necessarily wouldn't stay with the building. Full flow of plumbing. The plumbing gets choked down from 3/4 inch at the city meter down to a 1/2 inch, and then back to 3/4 inch, which of course, when you do that, as you know, it lessens the flow and is not ideal. Some of the electric outlets had been burned out, had problems, so fixing those kinds of things, putting it in new spots as well, updating alarms, updating security inside and outside as well. Whoops, went too far. So the additions to the property, the walk-in humidor, this will be the largest humidor in southeast Kansas, and really the largest humidor within 100 miles. Bigger than things that are in Joplin. You really have to go to Kansas City. In fact, people have mentioned that they right now have to drive to Kansas City to get the premium cigars that I'll be offering at this place. And there are some places around town that do sell cigars, and I think rising tide raises all boats, and it's good for all of that. But this particular room is about 9 to 10 feet wide, depending where you are in it, or 8 to 10 feet wide, and about 32 feet long. So it's a very solid room. The city has inspected it and inspected the structure and the wiring for that room, and it's a very solid room. It'll be very usable for the next owner or the next tenant, should this not be a going concern after a certain period of time. So it could be used for offices, could be used for storage, things like that. So very solid. Upgrading the retail bathroom, putting in hot water. It's just cold water right now, and so not ideal for cleaning or washing, things like that. Putting in a new full-height pressure-treated deck for the upstairs apartment. This will be a little different platform from what's there right now. And then underneath that, creation of an addition on the back, an outdoor room that'll have a 20 by 20 foot roof. And so that'll be good for my business, but also for future as well. Keep people out of the hot sun, also keep the rain off, and keep water away from the building. There's some spots that have shown signs of water in the building. Not major, but certainly something to watch in a 100-year-old building. And secure backyard fencing and gates, moving those back a little further towards the alley to make it a little larger area. There's still plenty of room for parking a couple of cars back there. Improving the backyard surface to a crushed rock type thing that's compacted, so it allows the water to come through, but without the dirt and without tracking stuff in and out of the building, but making for a nice, friendly, usable surface in the back. And there's also relocating a rear cement stairwell. JT Construction is doing this particular part of the project, the whole backyard. And there's a stairwell that as soon as you open the back door, you immediately run into stairs, 2 or 3 steps. And they're very high, and you actually have to duck down as you open the door so you don't hit your head when you're climbing up the stairs. So moving those stairs back away from the building again, helping to keep that water from coming in through the back of the building as well. So again, those improvements will be permanent to make it before it was an owner's door and maybe not required, but still a good thing to do, make it more usable for folks down the road.
That sounds good, yes.
Yeah.
Do you have
And
anything
then
else to share
renewed
with
the
us?
roof warranty. What's that?
Do you have anything else to share with us?
Just the only other thing, this was kind of the blade sign idea, I'd like to bring it down a little bit further, and then I was told by Larry Fields that the sign, where it says Pittsburgh Cigar Company, this was just the guy who designed my logo, kind of created this for me. I think there's windows behind that, he thought there were windows behind that, which I'd like to expose those as well and make that.
And what was that before you bought it?
Initially, it was Vapor Generation.
Okay,
It was Willie Seacrest building and, in the past,
So-
I'm not sure what else.
so it was a business that accommodated parking, so.
Now, will people be able to smoke inside the building? or-
They will be able to smoke inside the
So you'll
building
have
as
the
well as
proper
outside the building.
ventilatory fans and stuff in there?
Yes, I bought 2 smoke eaters that they're about double the size of what you need for that space. Because again, I don't want to push the smoke through the walls to the neighbors. I want to make sure I'm cleaning that. Each filters 3 times for particulates, for smell, and the smoke itself.
You said you had an apartment? Upstairs?
Yes,
Apartment
I'm
upstairs?
planning to move into that myself, so I'll
Oh.
be on premise all the time.
And angle parking in front of the business there, or is it?
No, it's
parallel?
parallel parking in front and across the street, and of course around the sides of the block. In the back is not really customer parking. It's about 4 spaces in the back for that, but I'm gonna take out about 2 of those to move that fence back to make that a little bit more.
With businesses down there now,
enjoyable.
wouldn't it be more feasible to do angle parking for more vehicles through there?
It's pretty close there, so I don't know if that's the right spot for that. As it is, it gets a little tight coming out of your car if there's lanes in, cars in both lanes. But, and again, initially, I'm the tourism director. I love what I do. I think I'm good at what I do, and I help bring business to town in general. But I think that for the next foreseeable future, I'm gonna be doing both jobs, so I'll be open, this place will be open in the evenings, but not late. I'm not competing with the bars and those kinds of things. So just after work and in the early part of the evening, I'll be open nights, or I'll be open weekends, be open holidays, for the most part.
And you're not planning on serving alcohol?
No, no.
Okay. Chuck, did you have any questions for Dave?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the recommendation, Madam Mayor, is up to, it would be 10% of a reimbursement for Mr. Luby with the city's investment not to exceed $32,000.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Cheryl, seconded by Stu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Change of zoning, Tony Reeser, 3204 North Michigan. Consider the recommendation of Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request submitted by Gunnar, Tony, and Abby Reeser to change the zoning of 3204 North Michigan from R-1C Single Family Residential to CP2 Planned General Commercial.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Was there any opposition at
There
Planning
was
and
not.
Zoning?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Ron, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Change of zoning, Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas, 3010 North Joplin. Consider the recommendation of Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request submitted by Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas to change the zoning of 3010 North Joplin from CP0 Planned Commercial Office to PUD Planned Unit Development. Any questions for Dexter?
I do. Do you have a map to show people where this is at?
I think you do on your,
Oh.
do you have it in your packet?
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
have one with me. There should be one in your packet.
There should be.
So basically, it's between
Between Kansas Gas and
the electrical.
Correct.
Kansas Gas and Electric and Kansas Gas.
Yeah.
Were there any opposition at the,
There was not.
I moved to approve. Oh, second.
Moved by Ron, seconded by Stu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, Dexter. Vacation request, Watco, 2nd Street between Walnut Street and Olive Street. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request submitted by Watco to vacate 2nd Street between Walnut and Olive Street.
Same question, any opposition?
Yep, no, there wasn't on all 6 of these,
Okay.
there wasn't, so
Very
to help
good.
you with that, I think Watco's just cleaning up these old.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Vacation request, Watco Alley near the intersection of 3rd Street and College Street. Consider the recommendation of Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request submitted by Watco to vacate the alley near the intersection of 3rd Street and College.
Same thing?
Moved.
Same thing.
Second.
Move to approve.
Moved by Ron, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, oops, sorry, Chuck. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Vacation request, Watco Alley near the intersection of 4th Street and College Street and 4th Street and Olive Street. Consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request submitted by Watco to vacate the alley near the intersection of 4th Street and College Street and 4th Street and Olive Street.
Move to approve item G.
Second.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Variance request, the City of Pittsburgh, 503 North Pine, consider the recommendation of the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request submitted by the City of Pittsburgh for a variance at 503 North Pine to allow a 60-square-foot digital sign. That's Memorial.
That is Memorial. So Memorial currently has a large static sign there now that the new sign ordinance only allows a 32 square foot digital down in the downtown district. But the sign that's there is the 60 square foot sign, so this housing's already there. So I believe, did they get a grant for that? Private funding for that. So it went through the board. It was actually brought up that this will put out less light emissions than the current light that's
Oh,
there.
wow.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dexter. Disposition of bids, 616 North Broadway, Structural Stabilization Project. Consider staff's verbal request to award the bid for the structural stabilization of 610 North Broadway to the lowest bidder that meets the city's requirements. And I believe, Matt, you handed an additional document to us tonight?
Yes, so before the meeting, I handed out everyone just a copy of the bids that we received. We only received one bid. That is in the amount of $392,478. For this project, we solicited every Class A contractor that we had in our database, as well as some direct phone calls, and so we tried to beat the bushes as hard as we could, but due to the nature of the work, I think everyone's aware of what's going on there. We had multiple phone calls and we were able to get a bid tonight.
That's, you only got the one bid?
Only the one bid.
45 people, one bid. It's amazing.
It wasn't for lack of trying.
Yes.
It's
an
it's
amazing-
unique in nature.
Yes.
So
Thank you, Tri-State.
And this is more or less within our budget, but what we budgeted.
Well, remember, this was the project where we had a commitment of $200,000 from a private donor, so, yeah, the idea would be that we get under contract, get it ready to go, and then as soon as it's safe, list it, and empty, list it, and hopefully somebody will help us develop it into something other than the hole in the ground it would become.
So of the 392, you said 200,000 from a private donor, so the city's part is 192,478?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Cheryl, seconded by Stu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Matt. Flock Safety License Plate Recognition LPR Camera Expansion Enhanced LPR Package Upgrade. Consider staff request to expand the current Flock Safety License Plate Recognition LPR system and the addition of an enhanced LPR search package to improve our investigative capabilities in the amount of $69,700 for the first year.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. If you recall, or you may recall, a couple years ago, we presented the former contractor, the existing contract, to add 14 automated license plate readers around town. Since then, those cameras were approved, and we've had success, a large amount of success with those. We've recovered 29 vehicles, 37 arrests, recovered 4 firearms, and recovered nearly $500,000 in stolen property with those license plate readers. Those license plate readers have been extremely valuable. These license plate readers are used all across the nation by over 3,000 law enforcement agencies, and they share access to other agencies. We have access to 14,000 cameras to assist us with investigations that cross jurisdictional boundaries. As an example, May of 2024, Flock reported that they had assisted in in locating 400 missing individuals since their company came into fruition. This was May of 2024. May of 2025, 1 year later, they've reached 1,000 missing persons recovered with these cameras. So that's a huge improvement in the capabilities and the network that they cover. Now we're seeking to add on to this project to add additional layers of coverage in some identified areas and add 18 additional cameras, license plate readers to our platform, excuse me. With that, we're looking to see if we can upgrade the software search capabilities with that to allow some additional search features that we don't currently have. The cost of the expansion project would be $54,000 for the additional license plate readers, $7,500 for the software package. For the first year, it'd be $69,700. That includes some installation costs there. The following years would be $61,500. This is an additional contract to our existing contract, and once the first contract is expired, we seek to combine and consolidate these two contracts into one. As a reminder, though, these license plate readers do not record video, they do not record people, they do not record speed, they do not issue out tickets for any kind of traffic violation. They simply log a vehicle's description, a photo of the vehicle, and the vehicle identifiers. The data is only stored for 30 days, and we have policies in place to ensure that the system is being used appropriately. This project will be a force multiplier for our agency, adding additional technologies and tools for us. And at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
We're in year one right now,
We're actually the start of year two.
start of year two.
Yeah, the first camera went in ground February of 2024.
And you're adding 18.
Yes.
What's the criteria for the locations that you're adding?
So we used some particular areas in town identified as potentially having some little bit of higher crime in those areas, as well as traffic counts. Placement of those additional readers will be placed kind of in those areas to increase the data coverage.
Chuck, do you have any questions?
No. Is this public safety sales tax eligible? Is this something that we would pay for that?
I did not mention that.
I
yes.
think that's just important
Yeah.
to note that that's one of the things that we're able to do with that, public safety sales tax is to add these, like, as you said, a Dawn force multiplier. So I'd happily move to approve this request.
Second.
Moved by Stu, seconded by Cheryl. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, moving into non-agenda reports and requests. Darren, anything from the city?
Matt looks like he has something to say.
Matt's coming back.
Matt Bathy was supposed to have something to say. Hey, real quick, I was gonna give an update on the tree progress that was going on. So our contractor, we contracted with Arbor Masters. They were gonna remove 100 trees. They're 90% done, if not closer than that. They've been moving really well. Just a reminder, they were all trees in the right of way, either over utilities, obstructing curb and street instances. So we're trying to remove those out of obstructing roadways and utility interference. So that's kind of what's going on. And so far, it's been really successful. We've had a good contractor, and we'll look to do it again next year if you'd like. So that's
I
kind
did
of.
have a question brought to me. The stumps, how,
So the stumps, the way the contractors wrote is they are to ground the stumps 6 inches below the grade. So basically creating a void, basically a hole 6 inches. So we leave the grindings there so that they'll settle out into the hole. Some of them are a little bit larger than others. So we're kind of going to monitor the settlement of that. And then if we need to, we'll come back and get some of them. Some are worse than others, I will say that. But there were they took down some big trees. So,
And there was a reason for taking the trees that they did.
yeah, and they're
It
all trees
wasn't
just in the right of way.
because they were
No, they
Chop happy.
They got. I mean, they're. If you see a lot of them, they're obstructing. Some of them have. There's at least 2 that we took down that literally had the meter can grown into it.
wow.
So surface lines, those type of things, they all affect the roots get underneath the roadway, cause problems within the roadway. So we're trying to, and then just the limb obstruction that we have with vehicle traffic, our backhoes, our dump trucks, our fire trucks. Clipping, they're knocking out signals and everything like that,
I
so.
think Jay may hit the,
so just.
there's another side to this.
Okay, so sometimes the stump stuff will go into the stormwater. I mean, it'll be washed into our stormwater system. I don't know, somebody had a concern about what happens to the stump residue.
If we get a bad one, we'll clean it back up, we're
Okay.
monitoring all that, so,
All right.
yep.
And there are no plans to plant anything back in these
That's
zones?
his part. He's gonna talk about that.
That's the big question.
Good question. Actually, not back where they are. They were taken out for a very good reason. They either obstruct visibility, they are in the right of way, creating problems with utilities. Those are very good reasons for not to replant them where they were. But the Sustainability Advisory Committee has been interested in replanting trees that have been taken away. So they're taking it on themselves to find a location for some new trees. City's willing to purchase the trees, and they're going to be coming to you with a plan for replacing all the trees that are being taken out.
Move to approve.
Second.
No, that's
Not a vote. It was just a report, but.
Oh, just a
Hey,
report.
Oh, that was just a
We're just,
report.
we're just on a roll.
But please,
Oh.
please remember that's,
Disapprove the request.
that program is possible because of the $100,000 that you budget every year for tree removal. We've only done it for 2 years. And I think staff's pretty convinced there's a couple of more years to do. So when we're talking about the budget, those are the kind of things that we'll be asking, is that in or out? And it's not inexpensive, but it makes a big impression when you remove that tree. And we are talking about street lighting later, and it also complements whatever we're going to do for street lighting to get that light down to the ground. That's all from staff.
Darren, would you like to respond to Mr. Hanson, or?
I had a great talk with Brian. I'd probably think the main thing to talk about is the number of calls to the bar. That's something that we go with, from time to time. I have bar owners come into my office and say, hey, what's the deal? And I was sneaking into bars long before I was old enough to get in there in Topeka back in 1906 when the drinking age was 18. So I definitely understand the fake ID thing, and that it's a hassle, but I understand obviously the police's role in there. So I'll leave that to the police department if they want to address the number of bar checks. Everything else we talked about, it is competitive nature. Brian has a business to run. He's always pretty clear about what his desires are. I don't think he has any plans to make it an unsafe place, but there are several drinking laws in Pittsburgh that are, tied to food. He mentioned them all pretty well. I've always thought it was a little convoluted, and that when we were talking, I longed for the days when it was 20, back then it was 18, but it was 18 and that was it. There was no exceptions. So I know we have exceptions that were here before I got here. So we're currently living with those. I've mentioned to the police department, it may be wise at some point to go back and review the 3 or 4 of them, but I know right now, the main clarity I could give, I'm not an expert on the event center or whatever it's called, but I do know that it is an open space, similar to Brian's. He has an open space, and you can get a drink, an alcoholic drink, by leaving that space and walking directly into a club that is 21 and over. But there is supposed to be no go-between between those 2 clubs for anybody under 21. That's the extent of our conversation. I probably didn't do a very good
that
job
being
of
said,
summarizing it. But
I have a large patio, and of course, then I have Fake Patty's Day or whatever. The way that the ordinance is wrote now, which I brought up, and we had a discussion back in March about that, I could sell beer outside and have porta potties or whatever outside, and that's completely within the ordinance. But if somebody walked in my 4 walls of the business, or the actual, it's all under the same liquor license.
The bar
It's all-
part.
Yeah, if they walk into the actual 4 brick walls, then I'm in violation. It doesn't,
Doesn't make sense.
it doesn't
Brian,
make sense.
if you didn't have that though, wouldn't it make it harder for you and your staff to enforce who's supposed to be drinking, who's not?
I think we could, if it was an underage situation, that they wanted to come in there, I think we could do a very good job. We would ban those that are of age. We would also ban those that are not of age. I would, from my personal business, I would only allow those with Pitt State IDs and/or Crawford County licenses under the age of 21. Because I don't want the JUCO kids from Fort Scott, Coffeyville, Parsons. I don't want them coming to Pittsburgh for that reason.
Well, I can tell you that the local establishments in general were not doing a really great job when that ordinance was enacted. Because that was the fallback on every bar owner's like, well, we can't control their buddies being 21 and buying it for an 18-year-old. So it was basically out of control way back
I
in
mean,
the
I
day.
kind of grew up during that time. We're
Right.
about the same age.
Right.
I mean, I think the umbrella under these exceptions are that they are recreational, you know, that
But
the acts.
why can they handle it better than I can? I've been in the business 20 years.
So basically, I think if you wanted to mirror the Axe or the bowling alley, you would close your bar and just have your outside area and would have beer and wine or whatever. You would not allow them to go back into your bar because you are licensed as a bar. So if you wanted.
So are they. I mean, their liquor license is the same. There's no difference in a liquor license. Just because you can serve beer outside shouldn't change the way that a business operates.
Well, see, and you brought up a good point in terms of, you know, as a city, we're trying to find avenues for,
Right.
you know, people across the ages.
Mm-hmm.
And your example of a 21-year-old going to, you know, the Greenway, I guess,
right.
with two 20-year-olds,
Yeah.
that's good for our community in terms of having an avenue for under 21.
Then it should be good for my business.
Well, then you would need to close your bar and have an outside recreation area.
So that's what I'm complaining about more than anything, that this particular ordinance was written for one place and one place only to separate themselves from what I do for a living for 20 years. Why do you think that they can ban those people and monitor the 20-year-olds compared to the 21s better than I can?
But again, I mean, it's an outside recreation
But-
area.
but how does that
Do they even have a
change?
license yet? Do they, I mean, the Greenway, is that a proposed thing?
When this was pitched, I thought it was conditional use,
Yeah.
not 3 or 4 nights a week as a business.
I don't know if there's.
I'm a little confused about
I don't know if
the,
there's miscommunication on that. I guess I'm not aware, as a commission, that have we heard anything from, I mean, have we approved? I don't know.
We wouldn't approve, we wouldn't necessarily.
The Sarah Malt part, or,
what is
So
it?
it's an event center plus, you know.
Well, it's an
our-
event center, but is it open like 3 days a week?
3 to 4 is what.
Thursday, Friday,
Then
Saturday.
it's not truly an event center, is it?
No, and it's not a conditional
yeah,
use.
and I think we need to definitely look at that. I mean, we're not trying to have one set of rules for one establishment and not.
Can we
And that's how I feel this ordinance was written for.
Your point is well taken on that. I mean, that's,
Kim, is there anything you would like to share?
Can we
Since
review?
you're- Yeah.
So, and I think we'd spoken to you after the initial, your patio, and I'm not PD, and I'm not I don't want to speak for another department, but I believe when we talked to you that one time, your patio is the same as this. So if people come into the patio, right, because you have a permanent fence, and it's adjacent to your building, so families, kids, anybody, as long as you have some sort of recreation out in your enclosed patio that's adjacent to your business, based on this ordinance, they could enter that. They just wouldn't be, where it comes in is, I think the question was a restroom,
So.
right?
Why are we putting this ordinance only to having 4 fenced walls compared to 4 brick walls?
The 4 brick walls are a bar, and this is an outdoor recreational entertainment
But you're selling
area.
the same alcoholic beverage that I am.
I'm not selling any,
Well, not,
but what,
yes, I
Yeah.
personally, yes. But the places selling alcohol, no different than me, they're gonna have to monitor those that are underage potentially drinking or not, no different than I would have to do that. So, I mean, I actually sell more food than what you guys are going to because you're gonna bring in food trucks, so that's gonna be, the
this
Greenway-
isn't
okay,
my
okay. The Greenway is
property or
going to,
business.
they're gonna bring in food that doesn't even have anything to do with the outdoor area, which is a whole nother thing, because we actually have food establishments up and down Broadway that pay taxes and property taxes and stuff, and these food trucks come in and take our money and leave our community. That's a whole nother area, but I don't like that anyways. But, you know, so I actually do all of those things. I'm a recreation center, I have pool tables, I have dartboards.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I need to fight that I'm a recreation, like the bowling alley, the
Axe
pool
bar.
hall, the
Yeah.
axe bar. You know,
What would that process look like, Kim? I mean, if you wanted to.
It's the exemption process, so I think
Okay.
it just, I mean, obviously PD and everybody would have to consider that. And again, this was, there are other communities doing this, food truck lots, things like that. Those would be constant. So at the time when the Blue Spoon wanted to buy the property on 4th Street, that would be a food truck lot where there would be kids and families and recreational activities, but they would also be able to sell alcohol and food from food trucks. So the lot next to the Fox, the Greenway, these are all just evolving with change in communities and more things to do. It recruits more people to town, there's more things to do, not trying to take from Brian or other bar owners. So I think the exemption came from.
I'm a tavern.
Sure, sure.
Stop calling me a bar. I sell food. We do sell alcohol. I'm no different than other places. I just don't get to that 60% mark on my
Right,
food. Okay?
right.
So let's just, I'm not a low-level bar. I've been here 20-plus years.
Sure.
So let's call me a tavern. I'm a pub.
So it would appear that right now, as the ordinances are written, that if you wanted to apply for an exemption, that you could. And be a, so.
Okay, so, you know, that, and that's,
I also think we need to look at the exemption on, my vision of whether it be the downtown district, our district, those are certain events, you know, that you, occasional, you know, once a month, once every couple months, not 3 or 4 nights a week. So you know, your point's well taken, Brian, on that. But
the hours that were advertised are midnight to even 2 a.m. It was.
For the Greenway?
Yeah.
No, that's not, no.
I haven't seen that. If that was
No,
somewhere,
they're
I'm not
focusing
certain
on
that.
families,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Why are we focusing on family-oriented areas that serve alcohol? But
I'm with
yet-
that.
Like a
I
food
don't
truck
understand
lot.
why, if you
Yeah.
have kids, that you need alcohol to have fun if
Well,
it's
that's
kids.
your
So
choice.
explain something here. These Greenway,
Now,
where's the alcohol sold
this
in
is
these?
their Facebook advertising on their hours as of.
Where is the alcohol sold? Is it sold in the building?
No. Well, there's a speakeasy bar where no one under the age of 21 will be
You're right.
permitted, just like any bar.
But they can walk
tavern
out.
or whatever
They can
we wanna
walk out
call it.
into the green part. They walk out of the building
There's
into
an
the,
outdoor serving area, the big white building at the
Right.
back. And I'm under the impression, again, I don't own it, I'm just speaking to what I know of the development, that they can walk up, who are over the age of 21, and order from there and go sit back at a picnic table and listen to live music. That, I believe from what I've been told,
So-
that is a setup out there, but there's,
I
So
think
this
there's
is-
some work to be done.
Yeah.
I do,
think-
because I think when we were told about it, it was conditional
Yeah.
use, not 3 or 4 nights. That's,
It wasn't.
That's
the ordinance
confusing.
wasn't conditional at all, no.
No. But I think what we're facing is that could be a trend. That could be, we could
Sure.
have more situations like that, and
Sure.
we need maybe an ordinance that addresses, you know, current trends. So, thank you, Brian.
Yes.
Thank you
so
for,
where do we leave it, then?
well, we're gonna have to look at the ordinance. The ordinance is in place.
I'm looking at the ordinance, what would you like to know? It says an outdoor entertainment and recreational area means an area that is wholly or partially outside of a fully enclosed permanent structure, which is used primarily for seating, dining, broadcast, recreational, and live entertainment, and enclosed by a permanent perimeter barriers. It doesn't say anything about a conditional use.
Yeah, that was, I don't know what that was.
Okay.
But, so the question, at least, is if under 21 goes back into the tavern, are they still meeting the ordinance?
The idea has.
No, is what Henry's saying.
There's an outdoor area, whether it's Brian's or whether, I don't know the name of this place. I've heard
The
3 names
Greenway.
today. The Greenway. That's a place that has a perimeter that's attached to a bar or a speakeasy or a tavern. And in this case, in Brian's case, the alcohol would be served inside and people are permitted 21 and under to be outside and nobody under 21 can go inside. At this tavern, the alcohol is being served outside in that area. Is that correct to somebody? So in Brian's case, and I think this is what we talked about, Brian's like, so now I've got to put a bar out there in my open space if I want to be apples to apples there and possibly bathrooms, which is, you know.
But the people that are over the age of 21 can go in and to order and get the drink.
Absolutely, but the kids still have to go to the bathroom. And he
Yeah.
has.
Yeah, there would have to be
And
restrooms.
there's nothing that prohibits him from serving outside
Right.
in that area to get a drink. So I really don't know. I mean, it's pretty new.
Yeah.
I know very little about it apparently because I haven't really followed it that close, but if we need to tweak the ordinance, by all means, tell us what we need to tweak.
I'd like to see,
Get PD's
Chief
input.
Nargis and his staff work with Henry and you and look at what maybe we do need to tweak on that. If there's some things, if you see possible enforcement issues. and
Plus,
have
we're
we
not
go
the first community to do this, so I'm
No.
sure there's samples out there.
Are you guys not aware of this? I mean, I would think police has probably reviewed this concept.
Yeah, along with other city departments, we're one of the pieces that reviews all of these special events and different requests that come in. I think what you've been talking about falls in line with our understanding. As far as the bar check scenario, I was able to look at some of the preliminary numbers. I have not yet been able to visit with staff about that, but they fall in line.
I'm not complaining about the last 4 or 5, it was before Christmas.
Okay,
When I
sure.
really had an amazing, and we came back to some sort of normalcy.
Okay,
I'm not
yeah.
saying, hey, bar checks. I'm
Okay,
just
so
saying-
we're good with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
But
I'm just using
Brian, to
the
be
law.
fair, I mean, we know what that is too. Before Christmas is a new semester, basically.
Oh, no, but this was going on.
Yeah, well,
So, but I mean,
Yeah.
so there
Yeah.
there is an issue of people pushing the limit to see what they can get away with.
That'll always be
Deal with
the
that
way.
at school. I
And
get that.
wouldn't we lending yourself to more bar checks if we just opened up your bar to anybody that was over 21 or under 21? That's my concern, is then you'd have to literally, I mean, we'd have to be in there all the time, because obviously,
Okay,
you think
so
you can handle it, but it's,
What's the difference then, you know, I mean, I'm just gonna use different places in town. Chatters, the Pit, Guadalajara,
they serve food.
they're,
so do I.
but they're higher than the 60%.
Okay, but they don't get bar checks at all, and they sell alcohol also. So,
but aren't they restaurants?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but how is that different from going in to make sure that people are of age to drink?
I think your crowd, mainly
Yeah,
Brian,
I mean-
I think the nature of the crowd is, if you're a restaurant, you're going out to eat.
I've been at Chatters 400 times, I've never been in McCarthy's, I don't drink, I mean, it's a different crowd.
so
I mean,
if you
got-
have,
really not.
if you have the
it
infrastructure
is.
for an outdoor recreation area, that's what we need to look at. Because basically, Fifth Street could say that also, you know, but they probably serve the food. So that's really,
It sounds like the other question is, do you need to have a permit to have an event at this new event center every time they have one, or is it just?
I don't think so, because it's not, I mean, that's what it.
I mean,
I mean-
are we settled that that's not?
No, because like, does Harlan's have to have a permit every time they have some, Frisco? I mean, it
No,
would
I
be
didn't.
similar to that.
I just want to know what the takeaway is.
I think the
for staff.
difference is if, I mean, Harlan's or Frisco or anybody else are, I mean, you got different people renting it each time.
They also don't probably hold a liquor license. Those things are probably brought in from the people that are renting the facility.
Like catered or
They're
something.
catered.
Yeah, they have a catered
Yeah,
license.
So those are not apples to
Yeah,
apples.
right. So,
And those places don't put on bringing in bands or whatever that might be. They're not in that space. Those are true event centers, weddings.
So the question is, for Brian specifically, is what would he need to do to modify his establishment to meet this ordinance if we?
Or the ordinance needs to be changed.
well, and I worry about the Greenway or anybody else similar to that, being able to, I mean, that's a tough,
Well, I mean,
that's a tough responsibility when you have that mixed crowd and you're getting
I-
an exemption, so.
I really don't think that your demographic is gonna be the Greenway demographic.
I don't either.
How can you predict the future of what a business is or isn't?
Well, because I know the owners and I don't
I
think
just
that
think,
they would want to.
I mean, yeah, I mean, a business is a business, but
But that's not
you're-
their intent.
like you said,
It's
you're-
not their intent to.
Well, it's not my intent either.
but you're a pub. I mean, like you said, you're,
If I can allow 18 to 20-year-olds in and charge a cover charge, that then I hire more security and things of that nature. Honestly, the younger generation are not as consistent of alcohol drinkers as probably I was when I was younger. and stuff.
here's a rhetorical
But-
question, I guess. What are you going to make off an 18, 19, and 20-year-old customer?
$15 or $20 on a cover charge. That's what I would make on it. They're already trying to get in anyways. Look at the stack of fake IDs that I've had, and that's just the fall semester and the spring semester. I mean, we're already doing our job. But the younger generation wants to just be social. Would you rather have them potentially in a place like mine, or you want them at a house party where there's no security, no, I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with plenty of house parties on campus.
Yeah, and I can tell you that's where a lot of them are, so.
Right.
So Kim, when we did this ordinance, was there a sample we were looking at, or another community that was facing this? I don't remember.
I think it was just in the amendments, like what was done with the Axe Bar, the pool hall, and the bowling alley. Yeah, but I still think your patio could allow the entry and dancing and all the things out on the patio right now.
You're exactly right.
And charge them the cover charge there.
That's what I mean. They could
that
just come
meets
to that
your-
gate.
That meets your expectations and your intent.
How would you get them? Some guy's gonna say, oh, I'm going to the bathroom.
But you'd have to put a porta potty or something.
I mean, let's look in December, let's look in November.
Well, everyone's gonna.
Everything will be
But that's
closed
the
then.
outdoor
Yeah.
spaces.
Yeah.
That's a,
But then you have the advantage of having the tavern
That they
with
can go.
21
I
over.
just think that this ordinance was written for one, and
It-
to alienate those that are already in the business. It was very well written, and it was very finite to an outdoor space that was actually generated just for this thing. Like you're using the examples, it was in Colorado, or you've used these other things. So this was a planned situation with alienating those that are already in the business.
Well, I don't believe
The
that.
ordinance was written that way, yeah.
No.
No.
I told you that the other day.
Yeah.
That's not fair. I mean,
I mean,
there's nothing in this ordinance that prohibits you from doing what everybody's described, which is serving alcohol in that outdoor area and having restrooms.
but it does alienate those that might want to come to my place or that place, because they go, oh, well, I've got two buddies that are 20, I'm 21, this is the spot we can go to tonight.
They can go to your
patio
place.
They can go to
can
your
too.
place.
21-year-old, yeah.
There's nothing about
They can go to your
that. that
patio
you-
and
I mean,
hang out all
you
together.
have that
So
same
if-
I
privilege.
just don't understand why the difference between four walls of a patio compared to four walls of a brick building attached to it changed things.
So it's-
What magically changes the
Because this
opportunity
is
from somebody to drink?
outdoor.
Outdoor
I get that.
recreation.
I get that.
So
But-
the Axe has recreation, the bowling alley, the Greenway apparently is gonna have, entertainment and some games and things, so.
Why was this written rather than just putting it under the recreation, or not, yeah, like the Axe Bar and everything and stuff? Why was this specifically written for this one place, when we already have things on the books that this
Well,
could
those are
possibly
indoor.
qualify for or
Those
not
are
qualify
indoor.
for?
Plus, the Greenway weren't the only group talking about
Yeah,
this concept.
The lot by the Fox is
The lot by the Fox.
looking at it. Blue Spoon was looking
Blue
at it. So maybe it was
Spoon was
more
looking
than
at
one.
it.
And again, you qualified, so.
Okay. Let's-
So, anyway. So you'll decide what you want to do with your patio, and we'll maybe take a look at this, and maybe there's some word tweaking we can do to
Can
make
we
it
look
clear.
Just get rid of and go to 18 plus?
That would be against the law.
Well, it's not.
I mean-
The county's that
So
way.
Brian, as long as the drinking age is 21, I mean, again, it goes back to the reason that was enacted way back in the day was because it was not working. And
Well,
18,
what's going on
19,
now is not
20.
working either. You-
What's the states say? What's
The national drinking age is 21.
21.
Yeah,
If
but
you-
our county is 18 plus.
But our
Not to
county,
drink,
No, to be in a.
I
place.
understand what
Yeah,
you're saying.
I didn't say to drink, I said to be in.
but we're
in-
also a college town.
Well. what is-
we have more
They
population.
can be in,
More
So is
population.
Lawrence, and they have 18 plus places that sell alcohol. They're a college town, 10
Are
times
you-
bigger than us.
so 18-year-olds and up, 18-year-olds can't come in your place?
No.
Not at all?
No,
But they could come in your patio?
correct, that's where I'm getting this, it
Okay.
doesn't make sense.
And that's what,
Well, but why not establish the patio, then the 18-year-olds could be there?
We're back around.
That's what this ordinance allows him to do, but he just
Yeah,
doesn't want to
yeah,
do it. I mean,
exactly.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
You wanna
why
make
can't
it-
we just allow it inside the
No.
building?
you want to make the $15 a head per underage person, and the way it's set up right now, you're able to do that.
But I'm looking at during when,
You want 18-year-olds in your bar during the winter.
yes.
Yeah, well, no, that's
Put a
not.
tent on your patio.
It's already covered, Ron.
But
It's already
heaters.
covered. But that's where I'm getting at, that this
That's a
is
bigger
just
league.
too finite to allow one and not the other. in a
But if we
sense.
do that for you, then we do it for everyone.
And that, I'm fine with that.
I know, you would be fine. I don't
We're
know,
not-
I don't know.
Why don't we just look at this again, look at
Yeah.
the ordinance, go over it, see what can be done, and come back.
Well, what is it we want done? I mean, are we comfortable with how it's written and, you know, working with business people so that they can fall under it? Or do we want to completely tear it apart and, I mean,
You
I'm
guys are
asking the
elected, I mean, you
commission.
guys, my
I
opinion
wouldn't
really
tear
doesn't
it
matter.
apart, I wouldn't tear it.
I don't know, I don't,
You could tweak it a little bit, maybe, but I'm not sure it really needs that.
I don't
I don't
think it
either.
does.
I think we need I mean,
Ryan, you had the infrastructure to meet the ordinance.
I mean, it wasn't written to exclude you because you can use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was like, you can't be Brian Hanson, then I could see where we wrote it to exclude you. But I mean, it's literally, you have an outdoor area. I mean, the first thing, when this came up to me a couple months ago and somebody said Brian Hanson, I'm like, I looked at staff and they're like, Brian should be happy because this actually is set for his
With
establishment.
the exception of me having to invest a whole bunch of money to put outdoor bathrooms in or whatever.
But they invested a
Yeah.
bunch of money.
Well, I'm just
I mean,
saying.
I get it, but I'm like, McDonald's has a triple cheeseburger that Hardee's doesn't, and you can't get one at Hardee's, but they're buying 3 times more beef and putting cheese on it. I mean, what do you want to do? If you want, you can't say this ordinance prevents you from doing something.
No, but it
just
makes it
allows
pretty
somebody else to do
difficult.
something.
It allows somebody else to allow those age groups that I would like to have in my place on a weekly
can't.
basis. I can't, because they can't come in the building.
They can't go in that building.
Well, I don't know what building there'd be, they sell alcohol outside.
There's no building.
so-
They have to be in the outdoor recreational area.
Well, that's all, as far as I know, that's all it's there, Darren. I don't know if there's any other
there-
place that's,
And that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Is it allows them to go in as a family and in an outdoor recreational area and have the 21 and overs either get a drink from there or the establishment that's next to it, and nobody under 21 can go in and into that bar.
well, why are we afraid of allowing 18-plus into my place in those 4 walls? Why are we afraid of that?
Well,
But we're
because if the
promoting
police,
it the
if
other
the police
way.
walk in and the 18-year-old kid is holding a bottle
Okay.
that his friend bought him,
Okay.
he can be arrested.
And I could also get in trouble, but
Absolutely, and
but-
you may want that trouble, I don't know.
No, but
I
I-
can, you know for sure that's gonna happen.
they're
Okay.
willing, but the Greenway's willing to take that chance,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah.
So why can't I take that chance?
Well,
See,
you can take that chance, but you could get in trouble. The Greenway could get in trouble if the police walk through there, too.
sure. And that's why I think the whole thing of separating it from 4 brick walls to 4 fenced walls makes 0 sense
Brian, like
because.
Darren said, the
Yeah.
ordinance does not prevent you from doing that.
No,
It's-
I get
It's in
that.
place for you to do that. So it's not discriminating against you. It's there if you want to do that.
So
Okay, thanks for
We
being here.
Well,
can't,
a similar-
we can't ever have a future discussion about writing an ordinance to go back to 18-plus?
I'm not comfortable
I'm
with
not,
that.
I'm not either. I mean, that would have to be, and I don't know how you would do that, but I'm not interested in.
Well, the county's already set that way, so.
Well, okay, we're not the county. So. All right, thank you, Brian. Anything else for non-agenda items? Right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved by Doc, seconded by Stu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We lost track there a little while